Y'all have to be living under a rock if y'all have not seen that viral interview between Cam Newton and Dr. Cheyenne Bryant. If you watched that interview, all I saw was Dr. Cheyenne Bryant against Cam's ego. When I tell you it sparked a heavy conversation, y'all already seen the title of this video and you already know what this video is about. I want to know what the black men are saying in response to watching that interview. Before we get into the video, make sure if you did not press the like button that you just take a quick second to press the like button for me. Your likes actually help us move through the algorithm. And if you are not a part of the family, make sure you take a second to subscribe as well, as we are still trying to grow and we're trying to do a lot of fun things on this channel, but we cannot do it without you. So just take a second to subscribe as well. But let's go ahead and get into this video.
Why Cam thought he could go there with this lady, why he thought his psychology classes had prepared him to go to battle with a mental health professional. He fucked up. She literally warned him, and she did it through an example.
She sure did. Y'all gotta see the clip. I'm gonna put the clip in here. Y'all have to see the clip. It went over his head because she used it, she created it as if it was an example, but she literally was telling him, you got me effed up. She literally told him that directly and it went over his head. Y'all gotta see the clip. I'm gonna put the clip in here.
High functioning means I can regulate those emotions. Watch this and say, okay, right now I'm ready to rip this man's head off. Right now he got me all the way f***ed up. Okay, so how do I relay that message to him where it's gonna be respectful, it's gonna be non-combative, and I'm gonna disarm him while he still knows you got me f***ed up. Because I don't have to say those words for you to know, I think I went too far with Doc. And you still feel respected and loved so that I just disarmed you and we can still have an engaging, emotionally intelligent conversation.
He thought that he was prepared for this interview. He had no idea. Like, you cannot mind F a woman that is mentally strong. You can't do it.
We appreciate the timing of the conversation between Dr. Cheyenne Bryant, Nick Cannon, and Cam Newton, because this gives a perfect example of what I was talking about a couple of weeks ago when I was being told that men should be holding other men accountable for their actions and for the way that they treat women. And my question is, what am I supposed to do about that? You see this tenured clinician with all her education, with the soft voice, she's pretty as all get out. She can't crack that eggshell up there. The men that are going to be like Cam Newton, that's going to be like Nick Cannon, that's going to be like the Futures and the Lil Waynes, got multiple baby mamas, but are commitment phobes. They're going to do what they're going to do regardless of what I say. What am I supposed to tell this brother that's over 6 feet tall, $1 million smile, got the charisma, got the game, got the money? What am I supposed to do about that? At some level, we got to admit that a certain combinations of traits, characteristics, and assets cause you to become some of everybody's type. These men are getting the results that they want. This is a lifestyle choice. This isn't them low functioning or high functioning. It's not even about that. The only thing we can do is cut off the supply, which means we need to get to the women first and tell them not to go for these guys. And yes, I'm blaming the women. These dudes have made their decision. This is who they want to be. I'm not placing blame out of malice. I'm placing blame out of responsibility.
Correct.
We need to control what we can control in this situation. There's absolutely nothing I could tell that man about being good or doing the right thing when he got a line of women lined up,
willing,
ready to
get that treatment.
The only way a man like that will change his ways is when what he's doing stops working.
Correct.
All right, when he no longer has that line of women ready to put up with him, he's not going to stop messing with the line. That's just not what he's going to do. That's what he wants. And if he has no real consequences for the lifestyle that he's living, it looked like the good sister was talking to brick walls in both interviews. That's what y'all want men like me to do with the ring, and it's been in this for 14 years to do, but guess what? I ain't got the energy for that.
We have to stop putting so much blame and power into the F-boyism, because these women choose every day to deal with the F-ism. Why you not talking to your boy for me? Why you not talking to my husband? You need to tell him not to do that. He's wrong. That's not that man's responsibility. It was your choice to tolerate that nonsense. It was your choice to deal with that man. He's absolutely correct. There are going to continue to be F-boys as long as there's women to entertain them, period.
Black American couples tend to have the highest divorce rate compared to other ethnic groups. For example, Black women have one of the highest divorce rates, often attributed to factors such as economic disparities, I said that earlier, social stressors, and marital instability, right? Then second place is white couples, right? Significant divorce, and I'm gonna be honest, no disrespect, but I don't even really care about the other groups because we're the ones with the F on the report card.
Ooh.
You have multiple baby mamas. You have multiple children. And you feel like you are still desirable. But on the other hand, you feel like a woman with multiple baby daddies and multiple children should not be or is not desirable. That sound like
a double standard.
That sound like bullshit. Y'all really out here feeling like y'all can have multiple baby mamas and multiple children and women are gonna be like him, yes, he's the prize. But you wouldn't date the same if it's a woman.
This conversation about this Cam Newton interview and even the Nick Cannon one. The reason why Cam Newton can get this off and realistically be so confident in what he's saying is because realistically, the conversations that we are all tired of on social media, from the 50-50, from all the women saying, I ain't dating no broke man, somebody cute, a city girl, ass nigga, big Birkin bag, like all of those type of conversations and all those takeaways is why Cam can say what he said, because he know for a fact as long as he got some bread, somebody gonna spread their legs. You can't be mad because he know in 2024, as long as I got that dollar, one of these gonna want to holler. So you can't be mad at Cam if you only dating for money because Cam got it.
To the divorce rate, right?
2 or 3 things that I gotta touch on that I haven't really been seeing nobody talk about. And before I get into that, I feel like a lot of people skip both of their stories and you have to give them their flowers. So first of all, for Cam Newton to have, I believe he said 6 kids or 8 kids, I'm gonna guess 8, I think it's 8. For him to have 8 kids, right, created a couple broken homes, which she alluded to. We still need to give Cam his flowers because all the kids are living with him. And even though he might not be handling it in the way that we all deem the best, as a Black man, he's still an active father doing the best that he can to provide for all those kids. So we have to give him his flowers for that, because there's a lot of fathers that just up and run, or they stick with one family or 2 families. He stuck with all 3. And I think that deserves to be applauded, even though it's what he's supposed to do. In 2024, a lot of men aren't doing what they're supposed to do, along with women. And then along with Dr. Bryan, being in a situation where you grow up and your father's selling drugs, your mom is on drugs, you don't know who to trust, always running, to be able to go through that adversity, take it, don't let it break you, and then use it to help elevate yourself and then help millions of women across the world is huge. They both need their flowers for that. Now, I think both of these beautiful people show 2 glaring issues that we're having in society, and I'm gonna start with Cam. Now, me being a former college football player, just like Cam, you can tell he doesn't have a certain level of respect for females and their opinions, and I'm gonna explain.
No, he doesn't.
You notice Cam was listening to respond, not to understand.
Yep.
He was jumping at her every time she made any point to him.
Absolutely.
And I feel like coming from that athletic background, that dog background, the only people you really ever listen to is your father or your coach. And you can see it in his demeanor, the way he carried himself. That's not something that he's used to, having a woman try to talk to him or correct him. And it's also something he wasn't comfortable with. We know the Bible said women are helpers. They came from our ribs. So as men, we have to be willing, allow women to speak up on what's going on, because it can help us if we put our ego down and listen. Cam wasn't really doing that. And if you can't allow some woman to be able to do that, who's clearly more educated than you, more knowledgeable than you, and is clearly trying to help you in her field, we got a lot of work to do. If his father made those same exact points, I truly believe Cam would have had a different reaction.
Yep.
And that says something. We got to swallow our pride, fellas. Women are smart too. As far as Dr. Bryan, she was a glowing example of why we need to continue to evolve, why we need to stop letting opinions that we've had really truly cultivate in our brain and be unwilling to change. She was very smart when it came to talking about not producing or recreating broken homes.
Yep.
But she was so adamant about never dating or being with a man that has a child, right? So I pose a question to Dr. Bryant. What if you're with a man, but his wife passed away? He has a kid, the kid's not yours, but you're a woman of faith, you know, just like I'm a man of faith. What if God wanted you to be with that man so you could mend that broken family for his child? You could be blocking a lot of your own blessings because you're so reluctant to not be with somebody that has a child because you have a fear of creating a broken home, when in reality, you entering that home could be what puts the home together. Get the premise of what she's saying. She's talking about her preference, right? Like, I almost see it as you're a big believer in nobody should be hungry, right? We need to get rid of world hunger. But at the same time, you don't want to go donate any food, any canned goods to the drive.
Wow.
You feel me? And if I'm tripping, let me know. I feel like it's a bit contradictory.
Okay. So from his standpoint, I love that angle. Okay. I give and I receive. And I see what he's saying. I absolutely agree with him, because you never know what God's intentions are for you. Your preference can block you from what God has for you. I absolutely agree with that. Her preference is not to deal with a man with a baby mama, but who's to say that she wouldn't entertain a situation like that if she ran across a man? Who's to say that? Currently, she's coming from the example of a man with a baby mother.
The real reality is, as I'm listening to a lot of these conversations of these men who have these platforms, I'm really realizing that a lot of them don't necessarily possess the emotional or the intellectual bandwidth or even understanding or latitude to even really engage in a lot of the guests that they're actually hosting on there. They get into this conversation, then they end up almost combative with the guest, or they end up almost, the point just completely goes over their head. Or even as I'm watching this conversation with Cam Newton, it's completely frustrating to me, because you are literally asking the same question 50 times. You're sitting there and you're not being combative. And let's talk about that again. A lot of men will sit there and pretend that they're listening, but won't actually really be actually engaging with what you're saying. They're usually listening just to respond back, to have something to say back to it, right?
Yep.
It's not even just a man thing. This is a human being thing. But a lot of us, again, don't have the capacity or the ability to actually listen. Because once we hear something that engages with our cognitive dissonance, or that engages a part with us, that impacts our ego, we shut down and disengage. And that's kind of what you saw even in that conversation, where your body language is almost showing it. Like, where you're there, you're listening, but as soon as she gets finished responding, notice you never respond to anything that she's actually saying.
Nope.
You just keep repeating the same thing over and over because you can't get off of that point.
Right.
That's where your ego got stuck at.
Yeah. And he's not lying about that. Like, Cam kept attacking her. And then at a certain point, like, he would ask her a question. And then when he asked the question, she answered it. It was a short response. She answered the question, and it's like, no, but you're not getting what I'm saying. What I'm saying is da 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 da. And it's like, sir, she just answered the question. Why does she have to repeat her answer? Her answer is still the same. It was terrible. It seemed like he brought her on just to prove a point, because she came for Nick's jugular and made Nick look stupid. And Nick and Cam Newton are friends.
Pretty much, to anybody who haven't watched it, it's Cam Newton pretty much having his thoughts and probating of being a part of the Elon Musk and Nick Cannon fraternity of, because I'm rich, I don't know the concept of time, so I'm just gonna make a lot of kids because I want to, and that'll make me a good father. Which leads to my point number one. Why are we keep normalizing broken homes in our community? Why are we allowing it to happen? Even from a woman's standpoint, like dealing with men just like this who having kids just for their fantasy. Like, pretty much Cam Newton got on that interview and pretty much said that, yeah, he already got 8 kids with 3 different women, but he's willing to have more kids without committing to anybody. Just for what? And we don't know why the reason that he's doing this. I don't think he even said it. To me, it's just to live out a fantasy. Obviously, there is an identity crisis at hand, and the only way to just keep a level of power dynamics is put in the seed, definitely in a woman that you don't know. And bro obviously got needs to just feel wanted, and except for sitting down with like a therapist and getting that trauma worked out, like he's putting that trauma on kids, not dealing with the repercussions of it. That's insane. And again, some of y'all niggas don't even have money and think the same way as Cam. Like, yeah, at least bro got money for sure, but bro, like some of y'all just I had to get out that car and finish this because I was getting too hot in here. Anyway, some of y'all niggas don't even got the bread, but still act the same way and feel like that mindset is right. So just because you have bread don't mean you're a good father.
Facts.
Just because you have bread don't mean that you're capable of being a good father. I realize now more than ever that society allow men to be immature at a later stage in life with less judgment in comparison to women. And one, that mindset hurt because that don't mean that when they finally get to that mature age that they actually mature. You just older, bro. You just got more wisdom because you've been through more stuff. Don't mean that you actually wise.
Have you guys ever noticed it's normally the men that are babied by their mothers that grow up semi-stuck in those ways? And when I say, I'm not saying guys who are raised by single mothers in general. I'm saying the ones that are coddled by their mother. It's the opposite. You would assume the mother would coddle their daughter more than their sons, but they end up coddling their sons, which creates exactly what he's explaining, where you have these young boys grow up never wholeheartedly maturing properly, always babied them for so long that when they get out in the world, they never grow
A lot
up.
of people see my situation and not think that I'm not high function.
What situation?
Okay, so I'm not married. I have beautiful children.
How many?
8.
By how many women?
3. And this is the kicker. I want more.
By multiple women? What's the intent
I
of
just
this
want
or
God
by
to
your
bring
wife?
them. I just want God to bring them.
Oh, okay.
My desire to get married is lower than my fear of divorce. So, as you had said, Dr. Bryan, you said it, I didn't say it, I will agree. I'm just taking my time.
So as a Black married man who's in a healthy marriage and also has kids by one woman, I wanted to chime in on this Cam Newton and Dr. Cheyenne Bryan discussion. This discussion is going viral, seen a lot of takes on it, but I just thought it's important that a Black married man, again, in a healthy marriage, that's me and my wife, and we're blessed to still be married and have some beautiful children. I
Amen.
just find it crazy that there is a whole segment of men out there that don't mind having multiple kids by multiple women and feel that that's less of a commitment or less scary or less problematic than getting married.
Right.
Cam Newton has 8 children by 3 different women and said that he's looking to have more children. And then he's told Dr. Cheyenne Bryan that he's just taking his time. Cam Newton and others like him don't think they're creating broken homes because they have money, because they can financially provide for these children. We heard this with Nick Cannon. Remember the Nick Cannon discussion? Leave him alone, mind your business. He's a millionaire. Well, Nick Cannon came out last year in an interview and said, yeah, some of y'all are right. I am missing certain events. I can't make it to all the birthdays. I wasn't able to be there all the time around the clock. He can't create the proper bond because they're not all in the same house. But then Cam Newton chimes in, well, all my kids are in the same house. Are their mothers in the house with you? No. Then you're creating broken homes. She's so scared of marriage because she's going to take half of your belongings, but not scared to create broken homes and be charged child support, which in the state of New York is 17% per kid. That woman's leaving with something either way. There was a reason why I decided to have children with one woman and get married to that woman. There's certain nuances that your children can experience growing up in the same household together. It's hard for siblings to create a bond, and hey, they see that sibling every other weekend, or maybe their parents are going through something at this time. So you might not see your brother or sister for 4, 6 months or a year at a time because mommy and daddy are beefing. Growing up in our communities, certain siblings don't meet until they're in their teenage years or sometimes until adult years.
That's sad.
So now you're creating trauma within the siblings on a very low level because they can't grow up together. You can financially give a paycheck, but you can't forge or foster a bond between the siblings.
That's right.
Also, why is it kept? People like Cam Newton who are creating 3, 4, 5, 6 baby mamas who are out there regularly having protected sex are at a higher risk for STDs. That's missing in this whole discussion.
Yep.
So you fear marriage because it's a contract by the man, but you're not scared of getting burnt?
Hello.
Go check the STD statistics in a lot of these counties and a lot of these states countrywide.
Yep.
They're through the roof.
Absolutely.
And
y'all afraid of marriage, but y'all not afraid of having baby, catching STDs. Like, make it make sense. Everything is just backward. We got women chasing after men and using kids just to secure a bag. You got men sleeping with all different types of women, creating broken homes. Like, you know, the worst thing about it, it's mainly in our community. I'm not saying we're the only community with that, but it's mainly in our community. We got more baby mamas and baby daddies than any other race.
First off, I'm gonna start by saying this. I don't give a fuck who you are. I'm gonna call a spade a spade. I think Cam Newton possesses a very low level of emotional intelligence. Let's start with saying that. I mean, to me, he just seemed very combative. It seemed as if he was listening to respond. He wasn't even processing what she was saying, because she was saying some real shit.
Yeah.
So let's preface with that. But the first takeaway off rip, one thing that I love, she never said high value man, high value X, Y, and Z. She called it high functioning. Whew. You are either functioning very low or you are functioning at a higher frequency. I love that. Secondly, she went on to explain it when specifically she said women say like, I don't need.
I'm sorry, y'all. His rings are starting to agitate me. I'm gonna ride this out. I'm gonna continue this for y'all. But them rings, the clacking of the rings, please spare me.
As men, when we hear that, we get very defensive. Like, what you mean you don't need a man? She dove into it, what she meant. She's saying like, I'm saying I'm an independent woman. I'm interdependent. Those are two different things. How you can be a hybrid. You can be high functioning and low functioning simultaneously. And that part hit me too.
Sir, that's not what she said. She said there's a difference between high functioning and high value. You can be high value and be low functioning. That's what she said. That's how you can tell if somebody really watched the interview fully in its entirety.
I consider myself a very emotionally intelligent man. So oftentimes I operate at a high functioning level. But she said oftentimes that high functioning man cannot also be low functioning and meeting.
That's not what she said. She said a man can be high value and low functioning, or a man can be high functioning and low value. That means you are high functioning but low value. You're not on Cam Newton's level. That's what she said.
That person where she needs to be met. And that's where I suffer with that. Because the moment I see or feel toxicity or a disconnection, I'm out. For so long, I felt like I'm high functioning, emotionally intelligent. This is the right decision. But nah, she checked me. You have to be able to have a capacity to meet your partner at that low. And if you can only meet somebody at their high, you're going to have a problem in your relationships connecting at a deep level, because you can only see a person here at their unauthentic self. Oh my fucking God. That's eye-opening. And the last takeaway,
He's cute.
I love how respectfully, politely, effectively she held his ass accountable.
The guys that are in their 20s, take the time to understand yourself emotionally, mentally, spiritually.
Yep.
Stop trying to put the money first. Stop trying to figure out, what can I do to get some more money? Because as guys, we already gonna do that. And then you come around these women that want you to support them and do all this other bullshit. So now it puts you in a more of a mindset of, how can I get this money? If you elevate within yourself, you're going to elevate in life, period. The things that you went through as a kid, it's a reason why you act the way you act, or why you do certain things that you do. Those traumas you went through, you have to identify those, take the time to learn from them, and put them into your current life. Take the time to understand, why are these things I went through make me who I am right now.
I appreciate the fact that this interview is sparking the conversation for all men, young men, older men. It doesn't matter. This conversation needed to be happening. It's really refreshing, because now it has certain men asking themselves, after witnessing a flaw within Cam, is that how I act or how I think, or being mindful of childhood traumas and the actions that they make, making them more aware that the things that they do in life does not only affect them, it affects their children. I am happy that we had this conversation, because at the end of the day, it was something that needed to be talked about. Let's keep this conversation going in the comments. Let me know your thoughts on today's video. Like, what did you guys think about the interview? It's a discussion that needs to continue, especially in the Black community. You think it's a generational curse? Drop it down below. Let me know your thoughts. keep a lookout for part 2, because I'm not going to tell you guys the topic of it, but it's another topic that actually piggyback. Now, if you made it to the end of the video, I simply ask that you don't forget to like this video. Like I've already told y'all before, the likes actually helps us maneuver through the algorithm, and your subscription will help us grow. And that is our objective. We want to grow around here, and we cannot do it without you guys. Stay tuned for part 2. I'm gonna catch y'all in the next video.
I like to call it a passion. I can be sitting relaxed. PG, we getting some traction. I'm at the venue.